Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Perkins, and I'm here as the host for the NAACP update. And today we've got a special guest. We've got Mrs. Mary E. Taylor, and she's a former executive board member here with the Dayton unit. And we're going to talk a little bit about her and a little bit about the women that have been the backbone of the NAACP. There were several women that were involved in the putting together the NAACP from the Niagara movement, and we had at least four, actually 5 women that have been the executive board director of the NAACP. And Mrs. Taylor, as we say, we put you down as a former executive board member.
Yes.
Because you worked so hard with this unit under 4 presidents. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the jobs that you held.
My jobs were a little bit about myself is that I worked with each one of the presidents, but I was the executive director under Mr. Gooding. Mm-hmm. And I worked with him for 9 years, and he was a great help to me understanding the features of the NAACP and what it would mean to the world and to our city and state for each one of the integrated moments that we had to deal with. And so I was there for quite a while until my health got bad and I couldn't work anymore. So I had to kind of sit back, but I'm still with the NAACP. I joined in 1966, I think, and I'm a life member, and I love the work of seeing people being gratified by what they are doing and where they are at this particular stage in the NAACP. I know a lot of things have changed, but it still sticks to the main rules of the NAACP. Yeah.
Well, and when you said you were the executive director under Jesse, I know Jesse was there for like 18 years, so you were there for half of his
10 years.
As his executive director,
Yeah.
you said? Executive assistant or whatever
yeah.
they want to call it. And from there, where did you move to? What did you get in, what position?
Under the new presidents,
Mm-hmm.
I worked with Dr. Baines quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the secretary of the NAACP, and it was quite a new tenure for me. Mm-hmm. Because things had began to make its paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. From one thing to another, and you had to keep up with what was going on from national to regional to state and to local, and it was quite a job to keep up with all of these changes that have gone on in the NAACP.
When you said you came in 66, that was about the beginning, you say, of some of the more I guess you would say some of a lot of the civil, as they call it, civil rights movement, even though it's been going on all the time. But a lot of the marches and Dr. King being involved and other things was about that time.
Yes.
Okay. So I know you'd been a vice president at one time. What do you see? Because we always hear these things that it's irrelevant, the NAACP and all this kind of genre that comes out. What do you see? Because you've been there coming in at 66, in that year rather, not your age, and until now, what do you see that's different, or as far as the women's involvement, or things that have changed, or have they changed for the better, or sometimes you think we're still the same?
Sometimes I do, but I must confess that all of the workings of the NAACP has to change with the world as it is today. And I don't take anything for granted. I know we don't have as much movement as in the movement as we did during the civil rights movement, and that gives me a very clear understanding of how things are modernized, you know, for this particular time of day that we are living in.
Yeah, more things now are electronic.
Yes.
As far as even your job as being a secretary, and some of the things, the way we get membership and things like that and turn them in, is done so much electronically. When I met you, you were doing everything by hand.
By hand, yes.
Yeah, and you can join and get a membership online, whether you're on our local website, which, by the way, is www.NAACPDayton.org. And at that website, you can also, on the front page, join our office right here in Dayton, and electronically be done. You can pay electronically, or you can print it out and mail it in. So
Sure.
that's a big difference.
Yes.
I noticed from what you've been dealing,
Yeah,
what you dealt with.
we had to keep books and keep them up to date on the memberships, and that was very hard. But we got it done, but it was much slower than it is in this modern time.
Now, I know one thing that you worked with, I remember very well, is you worked with a lot of the ministers and the minister alliances on
Churches.
Working with the NAACP on a lot of initiatives.
Yeah.
What was, because that is one of the things we're going to talk about at our next general membership meeting, is how the churches have been involved in moving things forward, civil rights, and with the police departments, and working with the violence and trying to, you know, what did you do with that?
Well, we had a personal comradeship with the churches. We spoke to them personally, and that way we kept them involved, because when you don't speak directly to things or about things that are happening today with the churches, they think you have lost interest in them. And we kept an open Bible with them.
Okay.
And that's how come we knew exactly where the churches were and how many would rally with us. We had certain amount of churches that always came in to help us, and we helped them, and we had that comradeship with them yearly.
Well, with the involvement that you saw then, where did you see women at that time?
With the churches?
with the organization
With
and
the
in the churches, because my understanding there was a lot of women involved on the church side also, along with the women in the NAACP organization, part of the organization.
Where did we see women?
Yeah, where did you see women? Their
Well,
power.
the power was limited. The men really came forward when in NAACP items, and I worked with men most of the time, so I knew how far to go and where to stand back. So it was one of those things that we only had mouth sayings to the public through the men. That was one of the organizations that men really had a hold to, better than it wasn't equal, that's for sure.
So now, in the light of where women have moved to now in different organizations and in corporations, where do you see or think that how much that involvement has changed within the NAA since we have a board of directors, Miss Rosalind Brock? She is the chairperson of the board of directors. She's been there a while, and I think she's the youngest woman we've had. And then we had before her, we had Merle Williams, and she was the widow of Merle Ever Williams, the civil rights activist that was killed. He was a secretary. And we also had Margaret Wilson Bush. She was before her. So we've had Mary Terrell Church. She was one that we had.
Organize.
She helped organize with. See, who else did we have? Mary White Overington. She was the first member and organizer, and she was a white female that developed Hull House in Chicago. And there was one other one in there. Let's see.
Can't think right now.
Ida B. Wells.
Yeah.
But we can't forget her. And matter of fact, I think she was in sorority that you're in.
No,
who
she
was
in
it?
a cave.
She was in K's. Okay. There's another one that was, I can't remember who it was that was in your sorority, but
It was in my church that, but it was, no, in my church was the bishop. I can't think of his name right now.
Okay. What is the name of your sorority, so I can make sure I get it right?
Eta Phi Beta Sorority.
Okay.
Inc.
Okay. I know I've noticed their name throughout history, being in close involvement with the NAACP on some things, and the other organizations, the
National Council of Negro Women.
National Council of Negro Women.
Yes.
With Miss Height. She was a large part in some areas with the NAACP.
Yes, she was.
Did you ever meet her?
Oh, yes, yes. I was one of her children. She called me in 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would run and hide from under that circumstance.
Well, the arm called WIN, Were you
Women in the NAACP.
yeah, it was women in the NAACP. That is still alive and well.
Is it?
And I remember you had a separate roster at one time of different women that were in that part of it. Exactly what some people might understand about WIN. If you're a member of the NAACP, why is there a WIN? What do they deal with?
They deal with what we're talking about now, women's issues and things that would improve the NAACP, and it gave us a voice that we didn't have, because the NAACP was rightly a men's organization. If you wanted to find the men in an organization, you go to the NAACP, and they were there. And we wanted to let it be known that we were there too, also.
Very good. A lot of times it seems like the women have to go in the back door to get to the front door. Well, from what I've seen in the issues that WIN has lately taken up, from everything from violence against women to children's obesity and wellness, and working with right now the vice president currently here locally, Miss Rosa Smith, couldn't be here today, but she is, the WIN is one of her committees that's under her. And they, every year, and actually more than once a year, they get together and work also collaboratively with other groups here in Dayton. Other women's groups on health. And everything from, you know, as I said, mentioned about the illnesses, breast cancer, and different things from that. And all those things are important within any organization, or in actually in humanity. If you don't keep your women well, then eventually your society stops. So we have to keep the women well, the children well, in order to move human race forward. So that's always the good things to remember that. And helping also our young women to become stronger, to see that there's a place for them.
And that we need.
That's things that we need to sit and talk about as women, is making sure our young women are involved. That they can move forward and do things. And a perfect example to them today is Michelle Obama. And it's not about the color, it's about what she's doing as being an attorney, helping her husband, walking with her husband to move things forward for children. Yeah, I think she's got a campaign now called Get Up and Move, which I need to do more of. I think we all do.
She's talking to me especially.
Those are all things that women need. But before we get away from it, can you name me some other women that were in offices or heads of committees that you worked with over the years?
Well, I can't give you too many, but I worked with Miss Miley Williamson, and I worked with Inez Nunley, and Minta Kimball, and that was a few women that come to mind at this particular time.
And did you ever work with Jesse Gooding's wife, Laverne?
Yes, Laverne worked with me quite diligently. She really did. She became ill a number of years while I was in office, but she did a lot to help me.
Did she work with, did you work with her with the youth council? I know she was part of that. I didn't know if you were involved in that or not.
I didn't have the youth council, but Laverne did, and she did a good job with that too.
Okay, that's very good. You mentioned Inez Nunley. Now, Inez was, what position did she hold when you was working with her?
She held secretary for a while and second vice president.
Okay. And some other names kind of pop up to me is Audrey Douglas.
Douglas,
Yes. What
she
was
was administrative assistant before me, and she did a good job in civil rights because she could get those cases and go right straight down to them and get them done, you know.
So she was working as administrator and also with the folks that were working discrimination cases or whatever cases like that on that side of the house. What about, did you work much with, when you talk about administrative assistants in the office, Miss Bessie Seiler?
Yes, she came in lately, but she worked very well with us.
And you mentioned Minta Kimball. She worked at, former worker at Wright Pat, and then she also came in to work cases and things like that.
Yeah, she worked cases and made sure that they were done, you know. You come to the end of the case and not drop it in the middle of it.
What about somebody, Miss Creola Reese?
Yes, she was a good worker with cases too.
And she worked a lot with voting.
Voting and finances.
Okay, former treasurer, yeah. I worked a while with her while she was still in. I'm trying to think of some of the other women that worked in the office there or were on the executive board.
Let's see. Not cool. We about hit them all.
Yeah. Now, earlier I know there was Louise Troy, and so those were further back at the beginning of the local NAACP, but they were part of the executive board.
Yeah.
And
I worked with Miss Williamson a lot too.
Miley Williamson, yeah. She was the secretary, but she did a lot of work in the civil rights part as the secretary.
Yes.
But I know she was in Hillsborough when they had the case down there. She went down there and worked with them with that issue, with the national office. But women definitely have had their place, and
in the Dayton branch they really have.
And helped hold the different branches nationally and then locally.
Certainly did.
And you have to always remember that the women there are standing there, and just like in the churches, the mothers of the church are the backbone of the churches, and the secretaries, the administrative assistants, all women that through history and civil rights, no matter what, were there for Rosa Parks, even the young lady that would refuse to give up her seat before her. Women have always been there.
Yes, they have.
And will continue to be there. And a lot of times we ask for membership, and people think we're talking to just the men, and it's not true. We want the women to come out, and young women to find out what the NAACP is about, because if it wasn't for the NAACP, in 99% of the cases, we women would not have the jobs in the corporations, in the Fortune
That's right.
500 companies, if it hadn't. We didn't get there by ourselves. There are folks that sacrificed
That's
so
right.
that women could be there.
It's certainly true.
So we want you young women to come out, join the Junior Youth Council, the Youth Council, the college chapters, join the adult chapter. Find out how you got where you're at or where you want to go.
Mm.
Find out the fight that went on and all the issues.
Yes.
And a perfect example is Mrs. Mary E. Taylor, and I want to thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
Anything you want to talk about NAACP, I'm there.
okay. And we really appreciate it. And I know from reading and doing some of the history of the NAACP here in Dayton, you are there at the top.
Yes.
You've done a lot of work, and a lot of women have you to thank.
I would still be there a lot if it wasn't for my health.
That's
But,
all right. We catch you every once in a while. I caught you this time. But we want everybody to go to our website, NAACPDayton.org, and look at some of the information that we have there. Click join on the web, join there on the website, and become a member, become a part of history.
yes.
And also, if you want to watch our previous shows, be sure to go to DATV.org and look at On Demand and look at some of the past shows that we've done and see what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
We welcome you, and next month we'll be talking about minority health with Vice President Ms. Rosa E.R. Smith, and we'll see you then, and want you to come back and visit us.
Thank you.